Now, researchers warning that teachers and clinicians are mistaking immaturity for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. A global study shows that the youngest children in a classroom are more likely to be diagnosed and medicated, and that could do more harm than good. Mariana Hond explains.
Parents want what's best for their children. So when a teacher says there might be a problem, parents naturally respond. Imagine then the suggestion that the child has ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Well, a global study indicates that might not always be the case. Conservative estimates put the global number of children diagnosed with ADHD at more than 10 million, and that number is rising. There are no biological tests for the disorder. Diagnosis relies on teacher and parent reports of children exhibiting impulsive behaviours, including fidgeting, interrupting, and being easily distracted. This research, published in the Journal of Child Psychology and Psychiatry, looked at 17 studies across 12 countries, covering more than 14 million children. In all of these countries, whether nations with high rates of ADHD or where prescription rates are low, it was more common for the youngest children in the classroom to be assessed as having ADHD.
All around the globe, teachers are looking at the youngest kids in class and comparing them to the other children in class and mistaking their age, their perfectly normal age-related immaturity, for ADHD, and that's extremely concerning. That then kicks off a diagnostic process.
Teachers don't diagnose ADHD or prescribe medication, but studies show in most cases teachers are the first to suggest a child has the disorder, and that label can obscure other issues.
Things like being the youngest in class, things like being sleep deprived, things like being bullied or abused, and you know, some children are just naturally impulsive and hyper and active, and we need to have greater tolerance for that. Now, I'm not suggesting some of these children don't have problems. They do, but giving them a label like ADHD stops clinicians and parents and teachers looking for the real cause of the real underlying cause of these problems, and you simply give them a dumbed down label and let's be honest, a daily amphetamine habit.
Researchers say delaying the age at which a child starts school isn't the answer, as another child would then become the youngest and potentially suffer. Instead, they advise teachers and clinicians to be more cautious when assessing a child, and for parents who know their children best, to trust their instincts.
Now, Joanna Moncrief from University College London is a co-author of the report, and she says doctors need to be cautious.
The diagnosis can be applied to all sorts of ordinary behaviours that may be normal for the age bracket that a child falls into, but are identified as being abnormal because they're in a school year in which they're relatively young. Well, I think clinicians and teachers just need to be aware of this effect and need to have in their mind that the supposed criteria for ADHD are very broad, are very non-specific, and may include normal variations in behaviour and normal age-related immaturity, and just be much more cautious about applying the label, because as we know, the label, it is a label that a child has for life and is often associated with then putting them on drug treatment. Well, this is a problem across mental health diagnoses. All the criteria are often non-specific. They're about behaviours that may be normal in one context but not normal in another context, and therefore whether or not there is a diagnosis is always a very subjective judgment. So I don't think changing the criteria will necessarily help. I think what there needs to be is a greater awareness that the criteria are always subjective, and that they need to be approached very cautiously and seen for what they are. That is just a label for a certain set of behaviours.